welcome to episode number 26. I'm CJ Wellerman. Thank you for joining us. This week we look at the escalating violence and discrimination against 2 million Muslims in Sri Lanka. But first, a quick reminder to click on the subscribe button below so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Now let's get into it. When Sri Lanka's long-standing civil war ended in 2009, there was hope peace and security would be restored for the country's Muslim and Hindu minorities, both of whom were victimized by Sinhalese Buddhist militias. But tragically, these hopes have now been dashed, with Buddhist nationalist movements and politicians, including the country's current president, weaponizing and mobilizing hatred against Sri Lanka's Muslim population, who are often stigmatized as foreign invaders. While mob attacks were carried out against Muslims with increasing frequency in the period spanning 2013 to 2017, the international community caught its first major glimpse of the animus Buddhist nationalists hold towards Muslims when a nationwide pogrom was incited on social media in 2018. Play the clip.
Sri Lanka declares a state of emergency after mob attacks on Muslim communities by hardline Buddhists. A curfew has been put in place in the district of Kandy after groups of Buddhists attacked Muslim-owned businesses, homes and a mosque. Soldiers will be deployed in civilian areas for 10 days as authorities fear further clashes and potential retaliation. A young Muslim man's body was found in a burned-out building on Tuesday.
Altogether, 355 Muslim-owned homes were destroyed, along with 20 mosques, forcing Facebook to issue an apology for allowing its platform to be used to incite violence against Muslims. But recently leaked internal documents reveal the company has done absolutely zero to address the spread of anti-Muslim hatred on its site. Worse, Facebook executives deliberately turned a blind eye to anti-Muslim hate out of fear of upsetting the political sensibilities of India's ruling party, the BJP. But life for Sri Lankan Muslims would suddenly turn for the worse when the terror group ISIS claimed responsibility for a series of attacks on Easter Sunday in 2019. Watch.
6 bomb attacks across 3 cities in Sri Lanka on Easter Sunday. Most of them occurred within a single half hour. The targets were churches and popular hotel restaurants. Nearly 300 people were killed. Afterwards, 3 bombs detonate as police look for suspects. Sri Lankan officials have blamed a little-known radical Islamist group for the violence. Here's how the Easter Sunday attacks unfolded. What they show is a level of sophistication and coordination that resulted in one of the deadliest terror attacks in modern history.
But instead of pinning blame exclusively on ISIS, however, Buddhist nationalists would instead blame Islam for the terror attacks, prompting a fresh wave of violence against Muslims throughout the country. Play.
Mob justice in Sri Lanka. Angry and impatient, some Sri Lankans have rioted and taken to attacking Muslims after Islamist terrorists carried out the Easter Sunday bombings, killing over 250 people. Police struggle to contain the anger, with one Muslim man dying from stab wounds. Shops run by Muslims are being torched or ransacked and their owners targeted.
They came with a sword and tried to attack me. About 15 people came in several taxis. They threatened to kill me. I ran away through the back door. The same group attacked my brother's shop.
With so much anti-Muslim hate percolating online and in the streets, the 2019 elections couldn't have come to Sri Lanka at a worse time, with the current government led by President Rajapaksa weaponizing Islamophobia to mobilize support from the Buddhist majority. In power, his governors waged a violent crackdown against the religious minority, including the banning of Islamic dress and schools and the implementation of draconian anti-terror laws which are designed to unfairly target Muslims. Watch this.
The Sri Lankan government says it's banning the burqa to ensure national security. Muslims see that and the closing of Islamic schools as another way of marginalizing their community in the majority Buddhist country. But the Minister of Public Security is unapologetic.
It affects our national security directly. In our early days, Muslim women and girls never wore the burqa. It is a sign of religious extremism that came about recently. We are definitely going to ban it. Also, there are more than 2,000 madrasa schools in the country. Nobody can open a school and teach whatever you want to the children. From ages 5 to 6, all children must study in accordance with the national education policy.
The government has also carried out a wave of arrests and arbitrary detentions by falsely accusing innocent Muslims of supporting the Easter Sunday attacks, including a former government advisor who had not only condemned the attack but also warned the government in advance about the group responsible for them. In a recent article, my friend Tasman Nazir wrote, and I quote, "As a Sri Lankan Muslim myself, I fear for the Muslims of my country. I would normally visit Sri Lanka almost every year prior to COVID-19. But I am now concerned about being reprimanded for speaking out on the injustices faced by my fellow Muslims in the country. I've seen the crackdown on many Muslims over the years by pro-government supporters." End quote. When the worst of the COVID-19 pandemic hit Sri Lanka, the government put in place a mandatory cremation policy despite the burning of bodies being expressly forbidden in Islam, and despite there being zero scientific basis for disposing COVID victims in this manner. In other words, forcing Muslims to cremate their loved ones is just another form of anti-Muslim hate. Play the clip.
And the Muslim community particularly is being treated very badly by this government. Now, Sri Lankan government knows they don't have to attack Muslims. They don't have to burn our madrasas. They don't have to burn our mosques. They don't have to burn Quran. They don't have to kill Muslims. By just burning janazas, they can continue to headmonger on the Muslim community. It is pure.
The policy was reversed earlier this year, however, but only after human rights groups around the world successfully pressured the government into changing course. But that said, the government is still refusing to hand over the bodies of COVID victims to their Muslim families. A newly published report by Amnesty International documents the way the current regime continues to target and scapegoat Muslims to divert attention away from its political, social, and economic failures. It also says the government has not only failed to protect the rights of Muslims, but also their attackers are allowed to act with impunity, while it tacitly encourages Buddhist nationalists and even Tamil Hindu groups to attack Muslims freely. And because hate crimes are the ultimate act of cowardice, it's Muslim women who bear the brunt of these attacks from male assailants. If they're not being harassed, threatened, raped, or murdered, then they are stalked while shopping for groceries. Watch this.
මට ඉස්සෙම මේව කරන්න බෑ මේ වත්තල කුරුපු දාගෙන යන්න බෑ හා කවුද කියන්නේ මේක දාගෙන යන්න බෑ කියලා කවුද නොකියන්නේ මොනවද ඔයගේ ප්‍රශ්නේ දැන් නේ වා.
Even Rohingya refugees who fled the Buddhist-led genocide in Myanmar have been targeted with violence by extremist Buddhist groups in Sri Lanka. Go.
Sowing hatred and fear. Dozens of protesters, led by extremist Buddhist monks, stormed this building housing 31 Rohingya refugees from Myanmar.
This is a terror group that lived in Myanmar. We saw in recent times they murdered monks, killed women and children, and also attacked 18 police stations and an army camp. Finally, Aung San Suu Kyi attacked and expelled them.
Some of those taking part in the attack had been encouraged by live videos streamed on social media, urging people to join in.
Clearly, the Sri Lankan government has failed in its duty to protect its Muslim minority from violence while also imposing sweeping discriminatory laws against them. This is what ethnic cleansing looked like. This is exactly what happened and continues to happen to the Rohingya in Myanmar. And this is why the international community must speak out and implement action against the Sri Lankan government. It starts with me and it starts with you. Well, that's all we have time for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like and subscribe to this channel and help spread the word with your friends and family on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And we kindly ask you please support this endeavor by becoming a member of this show at patreon.com/CJWellerman. We can't produce, sustain, and grow this show without your help, and we offer exclusive benefits to those who do. But for now, good night, good morning, or good day, wherever you are, and stay blessed.